And I am live. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Sundays with the General. I know it's amazing that I'm live 2 weeks in a row. I haven't done that in months. Anyway, as the description says, I will talk about pretty much anything but the Pro Bowl today. I'm not going to talk much about the Super Bowl either, because going to talk about that on Into the Lab this week. And obviously, I'm going to talk about it next Sunday on Super Bowl Sunday itself. It's not much going on in the NFL world, obviously. The big topic this week, obviously, has been Tom Brady has finally retired again. We kind of veered into Brett Favre territory here a little bit. Hopefully this is it, and he doesn't do another unretirement. Watching the video, the actual retirement video, this one does seem legit to me. I do think he's legitimately done this time. He always said he was going to try to play until he was 45 years old. He is 45 years old now. And he seemed more emotional in this video than he did in the previous retirement videos. I hate the way it ended with Brady here. The whole Belichick ran him out of town thing is a bunch of bullshit fabricated by the media. Brady was taking free agent visits illegally with Miami, other teams while he was still here. He was tampering to leave before he was even a free agent. It sucks. I hate the way it ended. But I got to have Tom Brady as the quarterback of my favorite team for about 20 years, and you didn't. So, yeah. It was great. He's the greatest football player in the history of the sport. Any of these takes, now that I'm seeing, you've seen a lot of these hot takes. Terrible Twitter takes should come back for one. Ernest sent to me earlier that Tom Brady wasn't good in Super Bowls. If your take is that this guy was bad in Super Bowls, you didn't watch him. He's the greatest player ever. The stats, first of all, he is number one in all major stats: passing touchdowns, passing yards, completions, and he's playing in 10 Super Bowls. I don't think anyone's ever going to do that again. Winning 7 of them? Nah, I don't think anyone's ever going to do that again. What he did, what he accomplished, isn't supposed to be possible. They have changed the game. They have changed the rules of the game. They have over the years to prevent these sorts of things from happening. That's why I get free agency and salary caps now, is to prevent these things. And how Brady did it over the years, making it work with all these different types of people, all the different players that he had to make it work with over his career, it's never going to happen again. I understand, yes, Patrick Mahomes is playing in his 3rd Super Bowl. 4 years. Good. 5 years. Good for him. Tom Brady won 3 in his first 4. And all this talk about, I saw it, someone said to me the other day, Patrick Mahomes is probably going to break the passing yard stats. To break these stats, Mahomes is going to have to throw, to beat him on passing touchdowns, Mahomes would have to throw 35 touchdowns a year, at least, for the next 10 years. Or 30 touchdowns a year for the next 15 years. He's already 27, and I'm not saying that's old. But you think Patrick Mahomes is going to look this good when he's 37? You think he's going to look this good when he's 40? No, I don't think so. because no players ever looked that good at that age. It was 2 years ago. Tom Brady at 43 years old was one of the best quarterbacks in the game. Last year, he led the league in passing yards at 44 passing yards and touchdowns at 44 years old. It's absolutely ridiculous what he did. It's never going to happen again. It's just not going to happen again. This obviously puts New England now. Robert Kraft has said that he intends to sign Tom Brady to a one-day contract so he can retire as a Patriot. Tampa Bay is kind of fucked now. This is I'm almost glad that Brady did do this whole thing to another team. Even though he got a ring somewhere else, the Patriots on salary cap fucked next year. Tampa right now stands to have negative $55 million in cap space. They are $55 million over the cap. And if Brady signs with New England for the one-day contract, Tampa gets a $30 million cap hit. If you're a Tampa fan, you're in for a rough few years here. I've seen these Tampa fans talking about, what about getting Derek Carr? For you to sign Derek Carr, all you need to do is clear $97 million in cap space, and then you can afford Derek Carr's contract. Oh, but then you'd have $0 in the cap. So, no, you can't sign Derek Carr. You can't sign it. If you're the Bucs, you're going out there with Kyle Trask and you find out what the kid's got. That's probably it. And you're in for a rough few years. But you got a ring, so it was worth it. That's the trade-off sometimes. And if you're Tampa, yeah, it's worth it. It's always worth it if you get a ring. That's the way I look at it. The other big news in the NFL this week, Sean Payton signing a deal with the Denver Broncos to become the next head coach. Take over there with Russell Wilson after the complete disaster that was Nathaniel Hackett. I guess I like this move for Denver because, well, you needed to do something. You need to get a coach that could come in there and try to make this work with Russell Wilson, who did not look good last year. Again, he had his worst year. He did have the worst year of his career under Nathaniel Hackett. So maybe some of this was on the coach. I don't think all of it was on the coach. And I am sure that Sean Payton can design and cook up a much more efficient, much better offense than what Nathaniel Hackett put out there in Denver. I'm confident that Sean Payton can deliver on that. But what Denver has given up already in this is 4 first-round picks and a third-round pick, and a second-round pick to get Russell Wilson and Sean Payton and a third-round pick. You better make this work. You got to get a ring out of the two of these guys. Like I just said, the ring is what makes it worth it. You just gave up 4 first-round picks for a quarterback and a coach over 2 years. And you gave Wilson this crazy contract before it had ever even taken a snap for you. Sean Payton hasn't coached in a few years. I think you're giving up. I think if you're Denver, you've given up way, way too much in this situation. Then again, at the same time, if you're Denver, you had to do it because you have to make the splash now. Because you forced your hand when you gave up that much to get Russell Wilson and when you signed Russell Wilson to that big of a contract. You put yourself in the position where you had to make moves like this because you got to you got to keep swinging for the fences now, right? I don't know. Denver last year had one of the best scoring defenses in the NFL. That defense was still good last year. The offense was one of the worst in the NFL. And if they'd been managed to been, halfway decent on offense, they'd have won a few more games. So I think Sean Payton can get Denver back on track a little bit. I do think Sean Payton may even be able to turn Denver into a playoff team. Maybe. But they got to win a Super Bowl here. You have to win a Super Bowl. You look at the rest of the AFC around them. You got the Bengals, the Chiefs, obviously, that you got to deal with in your own division. You got the Chargers in your own division, who always Charger, but they still do good things before they Charger. You get in the same. The Raiders. You're in your division again. People talking about, could the Raiders make the move to get Aaron Rodgers back over there with Davante Adams, and then, hey, if you put Rodgers back over there, are the Raiders a tough team to beat now? Again, maybe not. I still think the Raiders would do Raider things, but this is something that Denver would have to worry about in their path to get a Super Bowl that they have to get. Gave up 4 first-round picks. You got to win something. The rest of the division's getting stronger. I think you got to make more moves than this if you're Denver. Wilson's not getting any younger. You signed him for 7 years. You're stuck with him. Signed him, I believe it was 7 years, $255 million. You just got to make this work. And I don't know if Sean Payton can bring them all the way to a Super Bowl. I know he did it with New Orleans, but we only saw him go there once, didn't we? Yeah, he won it, but that was 13 years ago, 14 years ago. It's not easy to go back. It's not easy to go there. He's not going to turn him around in 1 year. So, like I said, if you're a Denver fan, you got to hope this works. Other NFL news, not much. There is the Joe Mixon arrest. Joe Mixon was arrested for aggravated menacing. The charges were dropped. They can be refiled. I'm not going to talk about a criminal investigation that has nothing to do with me, and the guy might have been innocent. We don't know anything. We have no facts on the situation. So, nothing really to talk about there. Looking ahead to the Super Bowl a little bit, I hate this game. I don't have my pick yet. I'm going back and forth on it. Like I said, we'll talk a lot more about this on Into the Lab and next week on Super Bowl Sunday when we make picks. I think this is a tough game to call as far as who's going to win, because both teams' weaknesses play into the other team's strengths. It's interesting in that way. But I hate this game because I hate both these teams. And I wish there was a way that both of them could lose. Fortunately, I do think one of them needs to be declared the winner. I'm waiting for the NFL to get back to me on that. Anyway, that's all I got for you today, folks. Got to check out all the other shows on Blue Collar Media Group, including the Blue Collar Cantina. Will be back soon, at least for Ant-Man and the Wasp 3. Ant-Man 3, I should say. Quantum Mania looks awesome. And maybe before that. But other than that, check out Into the Lab this week. I believe Ernest will be back to Tuesday night, 8:30 Eastern Time. And for any Into the Lab fans watching, the General will be returning for Super Bowl week on Into the Lab. I'm making that official right now. Anyway, I'll see you next week, folks, for Super Bowl Sunday.